somebody throws a helmet and it's considered a good race. So I'm not sure racing and entertainment kind of go in the same piece. So, I do think that racing is top priority for NASCAR, and it has been. And they've created some very safe race car and a very equal race car. I think the next step is to look at the tracks and figure out how to improve the tracks. The garage area and the competition side of NASCAR has worked so hard to create equality, to make sure that the big teams don't get away from the little teams. You just got to think about it a little bit. If the cars are that close, you're probably not going to be able to pass that easily. So that's just one aspect of an equal field. But if we had racetracks with multiple grooves, multiple lanes, high tire fall off, I think you'll see a lot better racing. But then there's still a portion of people that want to see fistfights. So that's the balancing act.
You've been talking about tracks and surfaces for a while now. Has NASCAR got here and you talked to them about this, or tracks, you talked to them, or anybody listening on that?
NASCAR is aware, and I've had great conversations with them, and I know other drivers have too, but the folks on the competition side of NASCAR that I speak to, it's not ISC or SMI, and it's tough to, the suggestions I may have probably are hundreds of millions of dollars to change, and I don't see anybody jumping at that opportunity. When a track is resurfaced, they, through the NASCAR competition side, come to some drivers and ask for advice. Some tracks will listen, others feel that they know what they need to do through their engineers and modeling that they like to use, and come back with something that none of us ever talked about. So I wish there was a better connection point between the guys on the track and the people that pay for the tracks to be resurfaced and redesigned. That channel could work a little better and help make the racing better.
Let's go over here to the other side of the room. Claire, Mark, and then we'll come to Nate.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. You have always talked about tracks that you try to learn and how you've worked over the years to get to them. What have you worked on here at Bristol? What has been challenging for you personally? And do you think we'll see the bump and run come back, and how do you feel about that here?
Yeah, on a short track, if you're within bumper's reach, you have to expect it's coming. So I would definitely anticipate that here, especially if there's a green-white checkered at the end. I think it'd get exciting, as it would anywhere. Me learning this track, for the longest time, back when we could test, I came here with the 24, and he literally got in my car and went 3-4 tenths faster than I did. I would look at his data, get back in, and couldn't find the speed. It didn't fit my natural tendencies inside of a race car. So I think the new surface has helped, and it's come my direction some, and just a constant focus on getting better here from my perspective. And it kind of sends the arc of the team. And I'd say 3 years back or so, I finally started driving the track right, which allowed us to start working on the setup. And it wasn't uncommon for me to be driving the track all wrong through practice and qualifying. I get in the race, get into the correct rhythm, and now the car isn't even close to being set up how it needed to be. So over time, we have found a good baseline place to start, and we'll be around that this weekend and hopefully have the same speed.
Let's go to Mark, Nate, Mike Embry.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Jimmy, your thoughts on the way the Denny Hamlin NASCAR situation has now been resolved? It seems to me like both found a way out of this situation, so we can get back to what's going on the racetrack. But what's your thoughts about how they solved this?
The way I see it, Denny's still paying, right? So he's still paying his fine. And it's crystal clear to me that if you have an issue about this car, you go inside the truck and talk about it. You don't use one of these or this room to communicate that. You go up in the truck and talk about it.
Let's go to Nate, Mike, Jim Utter.
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. Jimmy, following up on what you were telling David about there with the racetracks, should this track then sort of like be maybe the gold standard, even though when they changed it, they didn't really do what you guys wanted, but they gave the fans what they wanted? Should this be like maybe a shining example of what you're talking about, that when the tracks invest, that there can be a good response from everybody? There can be, and I do empathize with sympathize with the track owners in trying to create the right surface. Bruton did everything in his power to create a racy track here, and we had it. Drivers loved it, as you know. Fans didn't like it. So there is that balancing point, and I think we have to keep the fans in mind and what's going to keep
people buying tickets and sitting in the seats. So I don't have the magic sauce. I do know that looking at the competition side of NASCAR and the team owners to make another change or to build newer cars or do something different, we've exhausted all avenues. High downforce, low downforce, bump stops, no bump stops. I mean, all these different combinations. And the cars are equal. So you're going to have negative effect from equal running race cars on the track. Just how it is. But if we could start focusing, there's a lot of smart people in the garage and abroad. If we start focusing on tracks, I think an easy route is to use some of the older aggregate on these tracks. This new stuff that they've used at a variety of different racetracks that lasts a long, long time doesn't wear the tire out. I'm sure it's a smart decision when you're looking at your bookkeeping at the end of the year. You don't have to resurface the track as often, but I don't think it's helpful for good racing. We need tire fall off and tire wear in order to do that.
Is there any other one track where there'd be easy fix like what they did here? Wasn't a complete overhaul. I don't know how many millions, but it wasn't as much as what you were talking about. Is there one track where maybe they could just do something and have it be easy and
I think our biggest concern is mile and a halfs, the bigger tracks for side-by-side racing. And I would go to the newest mile and a half or the one with the newest asphalt and start there and just put down abrasive asphalt, the old mix, whatever that was.
We'll go over here to Mike, and we'll go to Jim and Melinda. Mike Hembry, Speed.com. Over here left.
Way left.
Jimmy, a lot of teams, or at least some teams, have loaded up their testing in the first part of the season to get used to the new car and so forth. With the start that you've had, does that impact how you guys schedule testing, and will you put more testing toward the chase, that sort of thing? Does it change things at all?
Well, so far there's been so much testing through NASCAR that we haven't needed to use our allotment that we have this year, those four test sessions we have for HMS. Our cars are quick, so yeah, I think right now our goal is to wait until later in the year and ideally test at tracks that are within the chase. It's the best way to play it, and I think every team looks at it that way and tries to save the test dates. But how the team's performing now will affect that, and teams will make adjustments. But for Hendrick right now, we've been very happy with our stuff, and I would expect later in the year is when we'll start.
We'll go Jim, Melinda, and Ryan.
Jim Hunter, Charlotte Observer. Jimmy, even with all of your wins and your 5 championships, how much apprehension or anxiety do you enter a new season as far as wondering what your performance or your team's performance will be? And we made mention of both you and Brad's starts, 3 races in. What is your own personal kind of mark as to when, is the performance so far, what's your personal mark as to when you think you're off kind of on the right track for a year?
From the apprehension standpoint, I usually, every year I've started, I've been concerned, and you don't know until 4 or 5 races in really where you stand. It's hard to even leave Daytona feeling too good about things, even with a victory, because it's just such a different kind of race. So I think the more time goes on, the less concerned I am. Just years of working with Chad and being in the Hendrick system and knowing that we're going to be close, and if we're not, we'll figure it out. We've been there, I think, 08 or something, 07, 08, somewhere in there. We struggled pretty bad and tested, I think, 22 times in 1 year. Granted, we can't do that now, but we'll find a way to get back, and I have a lot of confidence in that. But the most apprehension I had was after a championship. You finish on such a high, and for myself, I wanted to start that next year right where I left off. And I felt more pressure to have a quick start then than any other situation. And then that kind of answered the feel for the new car. I've always looked at 5 races in. We've had a couple short tracks and a couple big downforce fast race tracks, and kind of judge it from there. So I'm feeling like I know what my car is doing, but once we get through California and have one more race on a big track, we'll have our package pretty much sorted out for now. Yeah, exactly. And then we'll start testing for that here in the springtime, and get going there. But the downforce is so the speeds are so low, especially at Sonoma, that you don't play the aero game so much. It's more about mechanical grip, and the setups have been kind of the same out there for a long, long time, to be honest.
Let's go with Melinda, Ryan, and then last question right here with Alan. Go ahead. Right over here, Jimmy, to the right.
Oh, yes.
Melinda Adams, ESPN. I was just wondering, in your rookie year, how long did it take you to get comfortable in the car and with your team?
Boy, it took a while. I mean, we were fortunate to win our 10th start of my rookie season, and that helped the confidence, speed up the confidence process. I still today have, concern, especially starting a new year. Well, I remember what to do, how to do it. And it's one thing to be within a couple tenths, but to find those last few tenths and to get to victory lane is always a concern. But rookie year, there was a lot going on, and it not only was on the racetrack, but understanding the schedule, sponsor obligations. And it takes probably a good 3 years to fall into the rhythm of being a Sprint Cup driver, to manage all that goes on through requests from NASCAR sponsors, team, testing, racing, media obligations. It's a big thing to sort out. It really is. Yeah.
Right next door, Ryan, and then we'll end with Alan. Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay. Ryan McGee, ESPN. We're real quick to say let's wait till we get to May or wait till we get to June before we kind of know what we have. But there's 3 teams that have had top 10s in every race, 2 that have had top 6s in every race. How important is it to get off to that quick start? Because I think about 11 when you got off to that not so great start.
Yeah, I think it's important. I've been so fortunate to not need to worry about Richmond and making the chase, and hopefully that stays that way. And leaving Daytona in a hole is something we've grown accustomed to, and it takes 7-8 weeks to even get back up in the top 5 in points. So quick start is important. It frees up the first half of the year for you. I mean, you can preserve the test sessions that are now we're allowed to have at real racetracks on the tire we're going to race on. You can focus on inventory of your race cars, which we're all behind with the Gen 6 car, and just get your car allotment built up, which is very important to do at this stage instead of cutting up existing cars and rebuilding stuff and on and on. So it is important to get off to a quick start and helps lighten the workload for everybody.
Final question right here, Alan.
Alan Cavana, NASCAR.com. Just looking ahead to Martinsville, since it's not a downforce track, is that someplace you can take last year's notes with this new car and it work together? Or how can Martinsville work with the new car?
Yeah, definitely. Martinsville, gosh, it's been the same stuff, and also here for a long, long time. And it's nice to go back to those tracks. It doesn't matter what shape or design is on the exterior, and the mechanical grip aspect still the same.
Jimmy, thanks a lot. Good luck this weekend.
Cool. Thank you.